Pour a thin layer of resin inside the mold, but do not fill the mold. It's important to make sure that there are no air bubbles inside the small crevices. As you'll notice on this side, there are air bubbles that have not been removed yet. To give you a closer look, they look like little eyes. Those are all air bubbles that we need to remove. This side I already did. The easiest way to remove these air bubbles from the small crevices is by using the pipette that was included in your shipment. Express all of the air from your pipette and slowly insert it into the small crevice, giving it a little tap to release the air bubble into the pipette. It's important to make sure there's enough resin covering those air pockets so that if you happen to express some of the resin that's inside the crevice along with the air bubble, that there is enough to fill that crevice back up. In looking at the mold, you'll clearly be able to see where I have removed the air bubbles so far. Once you've removed all of the air bubbles and you're sure that everything is full of resin, you can add a little bit more and start working with your inclusions. Here I'm adding some dried pressed flowers to the mold just to kind of decorate it. One of the most important things to remember is to check on your mold throughout the curing process. Sometimes bubbles will rise to the top hours after you've done your final pour, and you need to pop those with a straight pin. To demold, simply turn the mold inside out, grab the grinder, and give it a tug, shifting slowly back and forth. And the grinder will simply pop out and you will be left with a beautiful piece. One other thing I like to mention is I typically like to dome my grinders when I am finished. Sometimes I will do a lighter pour and actually monogram them with vinyl or stickers or gems, depending on what the customer likes, and then dome them after, just to give them a nice rounded, smooth finish. The easiest way when working with glitter and pigment is to express the resin directly into all of the small crevices slowly, allowing any bubbles to rise to the top. For this, you'll be using the pipette that was included in your shipment. Next, we want to take our mold and gently squeeze the sides, allowing the resin to penetrate into the small crevices. This also squeezes a lot of the air bubbles to the top, where you can pop them with a straight pin if needed. Then you'll want to go ahead and finish your pour, just enough to make it level with the rest of the mold. If you're working with a long working time resin, you'll notice that the air bubbles will rise to the top automatically. Just like in the previous video, it's important to make sure you're monitoring your mold throughout the curing process to ensure that you are popping any bubbles that happen to rise to the top. Once fully cured, feel free to demold. You'll notice if you're using glitter that a lot of the glitter sinks to the bottom, giving this piece a lot of sparkle. On this particular grinder, I decided to do a thinner pour on top, which will allow me to customize it with either vinyl monogramming or gems or whatever I choose.